I knew being an awesomely good person was going to pay off for 2024. And because there was no coal left in any stocking, I got some good stuff, Mike. and and what I want to talk about today is this bad boy here. Ah, that's now broken. The RetroBit wireless Nintendo 64 controller tribute. Available on Amazon. We will include a link in our description. We are an Amazon affiliate, so we'll get 1 billionth of a penny if you buy one. But that's great. But yeah, this bad boy, since I feel we record a couple of these in a row, and I get to do props first this series, so I'm super excited. But it is the Tribute 64. I do hope. Do you notice the coloring, sir?
I do. As soon as when you first held it up before you violently throw it down on your desk,
Yeah,
I was about to ask what color is that?
yeah. Atomic purple.
It's the best color.
There you go. Yeah, and even the little additional control, what you pop into the
Oh,
64,
nice.
is also atomic purple as well. And then what's kind of cool about this is the location for the memory card. So this goes in now. It was interesting. The classic Nintendo 64, where you put in your controller connection, is a flat surface, a vertical flat surface that you kind of plug into. Mike and I both have Warrior 64s,
That was honest.
and
Yeah, that was my first question. So I'm glad you're getting to that right away.
yeah, kind of got the Batmobile thing going on the front of a Warrior 64. There's a bit of an overhang, which looks cool, but was a source of some concern as I took this down. Said, "Uh-oh, is that going to make it?" It does. It works just fine. I don't think there's a lot of room for error there. I think it's a tight fit, and it is interesting that front cowl kind of comes out to a point, a very slight angle point to it. So I haven't really tested it on the second controller input, but it goes in the first controller input just fine. And then for your memory card, you actually put your memory card into the receiver for it. And so this whole
Oh,
unit goes
nice.
into your 64, and away you go. Possibly the best and simplest pairing that I've ever had for a wireless controller. It worked super easy. So that was like a non-issue there. So I got up and running right away. And a good control. It is, you'll notice there's no trigger on the bottom. It's only got two handles on it, so it's got that kind of revised um, control. I think this is actually a little bit bigger though. Maybe. I don't know because I didn't notice feeling. I know the new version I'm not as excited about in the past when I played with it on the wired ones. This one didn't really bother me so much. Maybe it was just the wireless freedom that made me feel better, but I couldn't be happier with it. I am seeing the benefits of the controller redesign largely. I do, having grown up with the Z button and the trigger underneath my controller. I still have to adapt and remind myself that things are a little different. But since there's a lot of controllers I use where the trigger resides on this one, it's not that big of a learning curve. So I'm getting there. But yeah, it's been kind of great so far. I'm not trying to do. I only have one of these, so I can't do the two controller. I could try maybe with a wireless and a wire controller to do Racer with two controllers, but I haven't done that. But I've done a lot of other games, and they played really well. And doing some Zelda stuff, working great. And made my first foray into Scooby Doo, since Mike's been talking that up a lot lately, and worked just fine. So I highly recommend if you've got a Nintendo 64 and you don't have a wireless option, the RetroBit Tribute is the way to go. We got a link in the descriptions if you want to go out and get it that way. However you get it, go get it because it's really cool, and I think you're going to like it. So, what's your 64 situation? Are you 100% wired?
100% wired right now. So we in this house, we for anybody watching who's not familiar, I have two Nintendo 64s. I have a regular original system that I bought for my wife. I through that became a really big fan, and Kelly kind of chirping me through, what's good, what I should look out for, things like that. I become a really big fan of it, so I ended up buying a Warrior 64, which is a modded console with a new shell on it. I bought that for my game room because I have a whole game room, so she can have her Nintendo 64 upstairs in the living room, and mine lives in my game room. So there are four Nintendo 64 controllers that try the three-pronged attack trident ones for hers. One of which is my beautiful, naturally occurring atomic purple color. But there are four of those. I like the Warrior 64 controllers. They're a little bit small for my big monster hands, but I really like the layout of them. So I have four of those as well. Now that might sound like a lot having eight controllers. These are 35-year-old systems or whatever it is. These controllers break. One thing that I've always been warned by people of, the analog sticks break on these. So having extra controllers, and they're not really extra because they're each system takes four players natively without any sort of adapter or anything like that. There are four controller boards. So I have just enough controllers for each of them to be four player currently. All of the three pronged ones are RetroBit controllers. They're not original controllers. They're all the RetroBit reproduction. So I'm a big fan of RetroBit through that. I have a modded Sega Saturn. RetroBit as a old school Sega Saturn controller that I was looking at as well. I have an officially licensed Sega Saturn controller, but that's a RetroBit one, and they also have one with a analog stick on that as well that's wireless. So I might have to get this and the wireless Saturn controller from them soon. But yeah, I was concerned because I've seen people with these doing reviews and stuff, and it did occur to me that the dongle piece that goes into the system might not work on my Warrior 64.
Yeah, it'll definitely work for players 1 and 4. I'm I'm not certain. I'll do some testing and we can kind of in either in the comments or somewhere else I can throw an update out to kind of indicate if that I am a little bit worried about that second port in because it just really felt as I put it in the first first slide. I'm like, I just made it, and I wasn't sure until I kind of flipped everything on. But I just uh, having played a lot of Nintendo 64, but never played any of it wirelessly. Um, it's nice. I like it. I like it a lot. So that's pretty cool. The one place where there's some rain on my parade is that because I also am in love with the Evercard 64 that I got that's got the hole, and Mike now has as well, that has all the games. It's just everything's there. But unfortunately, it's high on games, really loaded on games, really not loaded on interface. So it is a super basic interface that doesn't feature the concept of, I mean, there's a little bit of back, but once you actually get into a game, there's no escape from the game. You've got to go over and kind of keep hitting the reset button on the 64 to kind of jump back to the main menu to pick your next game, which first world problem. They have to go over and hit the reset button, but you know, you could be anywhere in the room playing on my wireless controller. Now I got to walk all the way back to do that. So that's kind of a hassle, but
Well, so
I've really enjoyed it.
it's funny you bring that up too, because one of the things, so the game room, while I do have a whole room dedicated to my video games, it's not a big room. It's probably the smallest room in the house. I live in a doctor's office, being a doctor, and this is what used to be the waiting room. So it was only made for like four people to sit there at a time, kind of thing. So I've loaded up with arcade cabinets and consoles. So there's not a ton of room to like walk around in there. And the Warrior controllers have, I think it's 9 foot cables on them. The cords, they're longer than the original 6 foot cables. So it's like 9 foot cables. So you can actually walk everywhere in the room with the wire. It's not convenient if somebody else is in there because of the wire, but it's not a necessity to have that. Now upstairs with the three-pronged RetroBit ones, I got the extenders for those because our living room is has the opposite problem. Our living room is very long. So the couch is actually 20 feet away from the TV, something like that. We have a really long living room. So and it's long and narrow. It's kind of like it's a whatever that shape is. That's not that's like a stretched out square, a rectangle.
Rectangle.
It's
Rectangle?
it's a rectangle. So our living room is like a rectangle, and because of where the door is and where there's a lead lined wall because there used to be an X-ray room there, so you can't put electronics up against that because the signals don't work real well. So just because of the layout of it, you have to have the TV on one far end of the room, which makes the only place for the couch the other far end of the room. So the TV and couch are far from each other. So what we were having to do was put chairs closer to the TV until I got those extension cords, which are nice, but I think a wireless would actually work best up there.
Yep, I definitely think so. And since that's the kind of OG system, you could eventually just put four of those up there because they
Yeah.
do. There's indicator lights. I'm assuming there's indicator lights on the front of the controller that as I synced up, the first of four lights lit up, and I'm pretty confident if I had a second one, it was going to go ahead and do that. So that may be a good way to go.
Yeah, I think that's definitely gonna be a good solution for up there.
Yeah. If anybody else has experience, and particularly if there's anybody out there that says, I have proven that you can use a Warrior 64 and many of these, that'd be great to know. I'll eventually figure it out, but I'm not worrying about it right now. I have some extenders as well too, so everybody can play, but I get the wireless controller. That's the way it is.
Bog Panda.